Hello, welcome to step 8. I'm going to do this as step 8 part 1. So in step 8 we were last debating, or I was debating, whether or not to use the kit parts. For example, here's E37 and E30 go together to make the driver's side front headlight cluster. Put that right there. And E38 and E33 go together to make the passenger side or right side light cluster. They're pretty basic from Tamiya. They're not terrible, but in my opinion, when you look at the Bradley, one of the things that really pulls in your attention are those light clusters, and they just don't look good. And then I was looking online at some deficiencies in the Tamiya kit that I wanted to use for potentially for notes, and I was just like, you know, the author is right. The headlight setup is pretty basic compared to what it should be, especially for the driver's side cluster. What I want to point out is that when you look at this block right here is just represented as a straight up and down piece, and over on this side there should be a bump out for this black light or ID light or whatever this particular one up in the corner is for. So with that in mind, of course I couldn't do anything but make a new piece. So I went into CAD and I made this, and this is the new part, about as accurate as I could make it and still have it be a feasible 3D printed piece. One, I like the new base plate that's in here, and the lights that are set up, they have more details to them and are more correct for what they should be. The base plate also has the correct cutouts, and as I was talking about earlier, it's got the correct bump out here, and the bar actually comes out in front because it's actually two pieces, and this actually turns out to be a piece of metal and folded down that's the base for this light in the back. I mean, I think that the overall the details are just so much better and look so much more accurate, and in reality it's only, I believe, at most a millimeter wider than the Tamiya piece. It might, I mean, it's so dang close. Just to give you an idea of how close it is, it might just be part of a millimeter rather than a full millimeter, but I think that it adds way more usable detail. Well, usable is not great. Correct detail would probably be the better way to put it. And then for the left side, again, all the correct details on this lower plate, including the cutouts and details for the lights, and again the bar set up on top. Now, what I did not include was the wiring in there. And I have seen some photos that show the wiring. I figure as of right now that's enough. I don't want to go down too many rabbit holes. The other thing is that I looked at both the Orochi let me make sure I get this right. The Orochi M3A3 Bradley kit and the MENG M3A3 Bradley kit. And the Orochi kit's the standard edition, and the MENG kit is the kit without the interior. Just in case, I'll put the numbers in the chat below. And in that case, those actually are pretty darn accurate compared to what I ended up doing, both in actual and eventual size here, but also in where the cutouts are. The only thing that's different on the work that I did compared to them is this cutout piece, the way that this is set up right here for this one light in here, and some of the details on the base plate for the mounting holes and the brackets and the hollow points, or shallow points, I guess, and things like that. I added everything in here, and I want to say that the Elegoo printer, the Elegoo water washable resin, the stuff that I've got now that's coming in what they're calling the brown box, is absolutely wonderful. It's picking up and holding details. I mean, these are itty bitty little holes in the corner for the nuts that are present on the real thing, but they're just not used. They don't have any bolts or nuts in them. And it's great stuff. Again, I didn't do the wiring though, but the shape of the cutouts into both the side plate here and this back plate, it's all as accurate as the prototype I used. The prototype that I used was the M2A2 ODS Bradley display vehicle at the Camp Ripley, Minnesota Museum. So I did all that. They have the right angle. They fit on exactly like they should. However, right here and right here are two plates, and I will now mark with the black permanent marker. These two plates right here need to disappear, and they're molded on to the hull, and that's just the way that it is. So I'm going to move these parts out of the way, and my answer is I'm taking the saw blade from an X-Acto, well, saw blade, and I am leveling it out and just running it down the length, trying to just clean that off and nothing else. I don't want to take anything else. Now you could use a knife, I guess, or I mean if you really wanted a file, but I want to get this done this century. And considering that we're in the 20th or 21st century instead of the 20th century, that's a lot longer than it was, say, back in 1999, making that kind of a comment. Yeah, little humor on the side. So, is this, what I would say is, or want to discuss is this really necessary? That, specifically in this case, is really going to be up to you, and that involves a lot of the stuff with this Tamiya kit. Meaning, do you really need this to build a good looking, not necessarily accurate, I'm not addressing that point, but a good looking kit? And the answer is no. I think the Tamiya kit, the M2A2 ODS, comes out reasonably okay just out of the box. Yes, it has its deficiencies, but again, if you're not aiming for perfect accuracy, and you really can't, because this kit would take a lot more work. I mean, I guess I've said this kind of ad nauseum through this series. If you really wanted an accurate kit, this is not the kit to start with for a Bradley. Now, for a M2A2 ODS, this is about as accurate as you're gonna get, because nobody else. For all intents and purposes, the Academy kit has all the same flaws. So this is the hard part, is getting this angled to do the least amount of damage while getting rid of the part you don't want. And I know what you're saying, why not just use a knife? So let's see what it would be like using the hobby knife like you just saw me using. See, here, kind of chipping layers off. I don't really feel like I'm getting as much out of it as I did with the saw, but unfortunately, I'm really poor at sawing left-handed, or to the left, I guess. And this right here is a very small area to work in, unlike the other side. And I do want to be careful that I'm not roughing this up too much, because I don't necessarily want to have to rebuild any detail or have it look poor if I don't rebuild any detail just because I'm removing this. So, to each their own. Just thought I'd show you how I got it off, so that you know it can be taken off without using magic tools or super secret handshakes or whatever. Just a little bit of elbow grease and hard work. And the other thing is that I didn't include this in my prints, but on the real thing it looks like the platforms right here, that there is a very small rubberized gap for all the bolts that bolt this on, so that there's a little bit of apparently give in excuse me, a little bit of give in this bouncing up and down or side to side. It's not bolted directly metal to metal, it looks like, from what I saw. So, but I didn't include that. However, a lot of the casting or the support nubs are in this area right here, and so if you don't sand this perfectly flat and it hovers just a tiny bit above the hull, that's probably accurate. But now that I've removed those plates, these go on just perfectly. I don't even have to worry about filling in the marker holes for the Tamiya bits at all, because they're covered. I happen to think that looks pretty good. I'm very, very pleased with that. So that's done, and then in the next installment we'll go ahead and deal with the true patch in the back and go from there. But I just thought that once again I would show off this. And another thing is these areas right here were designed to take the Tamiya clear pieces if the kit had them. If they don't, I also have the file set up to where I can make my own clear lenses for this, and these are set up as if they're already going to be just painted as they are. So there you go. I dealt with the lights. I'm hoping that that's pretty much it and I don't have to do anything else. I really want to get this cracking. So until we get to step 8 part 2, have a good time modeling.